A closer look at chapter 41 of Jin Ping Mei, The Friend is Torn Open. This time, the three most important women in Simon King's life are all protagonists. Wu Yunyang, who has the highest status, Pan Jinlian, who fell in love with him when he was a commoner, and Li Ping'er, who helped him reach the top of his life. The three men finally fought head-on. The one with the highest status is Wu Yunyang, and the one with both beauty, sexiness and talent is Pan Jinlian. They are fighting against the same person, Li Ping'er. Li Ping'er was just a concubine, but she played a greater role than his wife. She helped Simon King get rich, get promoted, and have children. She was also gentle, generous, tolerant, and had a good reputation. The more it shines, the more it becomes the target of public criticism. Wu Yunyang and Pan Jinlian started tearing apart Li Ping'er at the same time. Both of them used mind-attacking techniques, but one used a gentle way to win people's hearts, and the other used a head-on and critical attack. Let's talk about Wu Yunyang's gentleness. The preview for the first episode. There are a few people fighting for favors, vying for power, and courting adultery and flirting. Needless to say, Pan Jinlian is the representative of fighting for favors, vying for power, and courting adultery and flirting. But isn't it Wu Yunyang? Of course, Wu Yunyang is also the one who fights for favor and dominance. It's just that she is the real wife, from a good family background, and has sufficient confidence. Simon King also gave her a sense of security. No matter how much he favored Jin, Ping and Mei, he always regarded Wu Yunyang as his head wife and always let Wu Yunyang take charge of the house. He always discussed things with Wu Yunyang first. Therefore, Wu Yunyang's struggle is the struggle of the head wife and the eldest wife. It is the mainstream pursuit of virtuousness and magnanimity to win the submission of all the wives. Wu Yunyang once opposed Li Ping'er's entry, but it was Pan Jinlian who picked her up. Moreover, Wu Yunyang was opposed to concubinage, not Li Ping'er. In the final analysis, it was a conflict between her and her husband, which had something to do with Li Ping'er and had nothing to do with Li Ping'er. When the truth is revealed, Li Ping'er is much better than Pan Jinlian. Therefore, in competing with Li Ping'er, Wu Yunyang followed the moral code of a true wife and showed kindness, care and bribery. Pan Jinlian cried bitterly when Ping'er gave birth to her son, which must have spread to everyone. In the 32nd chapter, Pan Jinlian walked to the front of the Yemen and lifted the child high. Yunyang suddenly looked up and saw it and said, "I raised it so high that I was afraid of scaring him. His mother is busy in the house." Then he shouted, "Sister Li, come out. Your son is looking for you." Yi raised the child high, and Yunyang suddenly raised her head and saw why she stopped in a hurry. At that moment, what did Pan Jinlian want to do? What did her movements and expressions make Wu Yunyang afraid of? Was she afraid that Pan Jinlian would drop the child to death? This moment is truly thrilling. After that, Wu Yunyang was very wary of Pan Jinlian. In the 39th chapter, Pan Jinlian took over and said, "What a little Taoist priest. You look like a little Tai-Yer," Yunyang said sternly. "Sixth sister, what are you talking about? Children? Look, I'm going to die soon." The Golden Lotus said nothing. Little Tai is homophonic to little imperial physician. Pan Jinlian mocked Li Ping'er's child as being the child of imperial physician Chang. Li Ping'er divorced her predecessor, imperial physician Chang, for more than 10 days, and officially married Simon King on August 20th. The official brother was born at the end of June, some say July 23rd of the next year. During this period, more than 10 Yu Guanj can only be Simon King's child, but Pan Jinlian always takes the opportunity to slander him. In response, Wu Yunyang responded directly, "Wu Yunyang has nothing to do at this time. If her heart is dark, she can just watch Pan Jinlian stir up trouble and let rumors spread." Wu Yunyang could not tolerate her husband's authentic blood being slandered and disparaged by Pan Jinlian, and it was for Simon King's sake. But objectively speaking, when word of this rebuttal spread, the person who missed her the most was of course Li Ping'er. In chapter 40, Pan Jinlian said, "I'll go too." Jinlian was about to take it away. Yunyang said, "Ask his mother to hold him. Your honey brown peach embroidered skirt cannot withstand stains. Sprinkle some dirt on it and it will stain it." So Li Ping'er hugged brother Dingwen, and Pan Jinlian followed. The word rob is really like robbing something by force. Usually when mothers are overflowing with love and feel relaxed, they hold their children gently for fear of hurting them. Only when you feel danger will you hold firm. At this time, Li Ping'er and Wu Yunyang were very wary of Pan Jinlian. This is in front of people. As a queen, Wu Yunyang is also doing well. Mrs. Wang was selling medicine to cheat money, so she advised Wu Yunyang, "Why don't you take the child's house and use it as a pretext?" Yunyang said, "Why harm others to yourself? I give you money, so you can take care of me. It's time to find another solution." In ancient times, it was believed that using clothes cells would be detrimental to the original child. Yunyang categorically refused to use Brother Guan's clothes, which shows that she really regarded Brother Guan as the incense of the Ximen family. There are calculations, competition and jealousy, but she is not confused about important matters. Wu Yunyang has the style of a royal wife. Having been Liang Zhongshu's concubine, Li Ping'er was naturally very happy. Later, when complaining to Wu Yin'er in the middle of the night, she affirmed Wu Yunyang, "If your father and your aunt hadn't looked down upon him, this child wouldn't be alive today." But Wu Yunyang also has a strong sense of crisis. She took care of Brother Guan on the one hand, and bribed him on the other. Ximen King is naive and snobbish, and is very good at fawning over others. Marrying a girl is based on the power of the Chen family, and getting an official position depends on climbing. The Chen family was defeated, and the status of the daughter and son-in-law was not as good as that of the concubine, which was also snobbish. Compared with Ximen King, Qiao Dahu's climbing skills are not bad at all. Not long after Ximen King was promoted to official position, Sister Zheng Sanji, the niece of the wealthy Qiao Dahu, married Wu Shenshen, who was Wu Sunshin, Uncle Wu, Wu Yunyang's brother. Uncle Wu was very poor. He couldn't even afford 20 taels of silver and he didn't settle down. But what does that matter? Marrying the brother-in-law of a high-ranking official from Ximen is a step up. The Qiao family and Ximen family interacted frequently. No, the Qiao family invited Wu Yunyang's wife and concubines to his house to drink and listen to music. Yunyang was very honorable and took the first place, accompanied by Lady Shang Jun, Lady Wu Dajin, Lady Zhu Taiguan, Lady Qiao Dahu, Sister Duen, Third Sister Zheng and others. However, the treat is just a pretense. The real drama is getting married. Yunyang got down from the table and found that the person playing with Brother Guan was the new eldest sister of the Qiao family. The two children were playing very enthusiastically. Yunyang and Yulu shouted that they looked like a young couple. Wu Dejinzi also echoed the idea that a pair of children play tricks after a small marriage. Mrs. Qiao Dahu said she did not dare to reach out to her, but Wu Yunyang acted very forcefully. "I will make love to you." Wu Dejinzi and other ladies all joined in the fun and tried their best to cheer up the atmosphere, saying, "Together, together." Thus, a marriage was settled. It seems that this engagement was an accident. But when the time comes, who doesn't come? And when the time doesn't come, who doesn't come? In addition to Qiao Dahu, there is also Jingnan Gang, who has been rushing to marry Ximen King for a long time. It's just that Ximen King refused, but he didn't expect that the Qiao family would take the wife route. Wu Yunyang was the instigator of the incident of Brother Guan's engagement. Wu Yunyang was the happiest person. When she saw Brother Guan and her eldest sister lying side by side on the bed and having fun, she couldn't have liked her more. During the wedding, she laughed in a hurry, and during the wedding banquet, full of joy. The wedding banquet was very enjoyable, and it didn't end until the first watch. Taking advantage of the excitement, he invited Mrs. Qiao Dahu to visit her home the next day. For this reason, Life and Death left Wu Da Qzi behind and asked her to accompany him the next day. When Li Ping'er knelt down to thank Wu Yunyang for getting married, that Yunyang smiled brightly and stepped away to return the favor, saying, "I'm just as happy." Where is Wu Yunyang happy? Brother Guan and her were previously concubines and aunts. In ancient times, this was the relationship between mother and child. But if we really want to establish a mother-child relationship, we need other blessings. The various cares mentioned above are equivalent to the kindness of nurturing. This is one layer. On the second level, My aunt tried her best to facilitate this marriage, which not only reflected her authority, but also made her a matchmaker, so she had a lot of credit. Jia Mu ensured the marriage between Xu Yun and Zhu Bao, and the Zhu family and Qing family all wanted to thank Jia Mu. In the same way, Li Ping'er, Guanzhi, Miss Qiao and others must remember Wu Yunyang's contribution. On the third floor, Wu Yunyang's sister-in-law Wu Dejinzi is the mother-in-law of Qiao's niece. Now, brother Guan is engaged to Miss Qiao's family again. This act of engagement adds another layer to the relationship between Wu Yunyang and Guang. Wu Yunyang and Guanzhi are aunts and concubines. They have been immersed in the world of human nature and know the fragility of this mother-child relationship. It turns into a life-and-death struggle relationship, which is the normal state of life. Having a close relationship greatly reduces the possibility of a conflicting relationship. But the relationship between mother and child and relatives has greatly increased. How can you not be happy about it? On the fourth floor, after giving birth to a child, Li Ping'er has a docile temperament and is at the mercy of others. Wu Yunyang's strong decision-making will only make Li Ping'er feel more psychologically submissive and easier to control psychologically. Moreover, Li Ping'er is a generous person and meddling in her son's affairs is only beneficial to herself. On the fifth level, take the initiative to have a good relationship with Li Ping'er, take care of brother Guan, and please Simon King. From the perspective of family prosperity, Simon King would value Wu Yunyang if he could take care of his concubine's children. If you believe in her virtue, your first wife will be hers forever. Let's look at Pan Jinlian's critical attack. Of course, Huairou needs confidence. You should be broad-minded, take a long-term view, be able to see through people's hearts, and firmly believe that your efforts will be rewarded. If the other party dares to break the contract, he can take care of him. Wu Yunyang has always been generous to Pan Jinlian. After Li Ping'er died, Pan Jinlian directly challenged Wu Yunyang, and Xiao Pan lost in the end. You also need to have financial resources. If Huairou doesn't have money, he can't give small favors or host banquets, so Huairou's skills are in vain. Huairou still needs to have status. If you are not your first wife, how can you make the decision with such force? I will love and make love with you. But what does Pan Jinlian have? It doesn't matter what she wants. Li Ping'er easily reached the pinnacle of life. Her wealth, beauty, sweetheart, and special favor were all what Pan Jinlian thought about day and night. Li Ping'er is Chanzi's #1 competitor. Jealousy is like a poisonous snake, entrenched in the depths of Pan Jinlian's heart. Pan Jinlian's sour feelings for Li Ping'er turned out to be nothing more than unwilling talk. Now, Wu Yunyang is also trying to please Li Ping'er, which makes Xiao Pan feel more in danger. 3 women in one drama. Simon King didn't know the ferocity of the struggle between women. There are no Simon family rules to restrain reason, and there are no family rules to protect the interests of wives and concubines. In a dream of red mansions, the wives and concubines of Jia's family can live in their own way. That is, the boundaries between wives, concubines, and children are very clear. The treatment of concubines and concubines is the same as that of legitimate concubines. In this way, concubines do not have to use all means to fight each other, regardless of whether she has given birth or not. The concubine's food, clothing, expenses, and illness are all provided according to her rank and regulations. She is given 20 taels of pocket money per month, and even social expenses are stipulated. For example, if my concubine's mother-in-law dies, she will receive 20 taels for funeral expenses. And if her child goes to school, she will receive 8 taels for snacks, etc. Therefore, the Jia family has Anzhou, who has no children, but lives a quiet life. When the extremely favored Anzhou made a fuss, Mrs. Wang was particularly confident and treated her like a clown. Because there was no need for her to take action, the regulations of Jia Mansion protected Mrs. Wang's status. And Anzhou would not dare to go too far no matter how noisy she was, because, compared to being kicked out, it is really not worth it. But obviously Simon King, a nouveau riche, has no experience in dealing with the troubles in the hearts of many wives and concubines. Pan Jinlian had to be extremely creative in order to pull Simon King to her bed. and squeeze out her sexiness before she could ask for clothes, so that she could look good when she went out as a guest. And doting on one end being cold to the other is a taboo to balance a woman's jealousy. Seeing Wu Yunyang's enthusiasm for Guanji's marriage, Pan Jinlian was jealous. Simon King has strong opinions on Brother Guan's marriage, Simon King said. It's just a marriage, but I just don't want to move in with you. He is just a man in white from a wealthy family in the county. Tomorrow, during the wedding banquet, he is wearing a hat. How can he get along with me, an official family, in decent appearance? Just the day before yesterday, the Zhang family in Ganjiang, Jingnan and Yingli repeatedly rushed to marry me. I thought he had no mother and a child, and he was born in the same room, so I didn't agree to him. I didn't want to marry his family, had a kiss. It is human nature for Simon King to be so snobbish. Being well-matched was the first requirement for getting married in ancient times. Pan Jinlian took the opportunity to say, "Is it true that someone raised a child in the room? But who raised him outside the room? Even the child of the Qiao family was born in the room. It was the Taoist god of Xian who bumped into the birthday boy. Don't even blame me. If you are long, I will never think you are short." The other Lior, Wang Lior, how did he say? "It's hard work in my father's house to serve wine all day long? I'm so happy for you." Simon King said, "Just because Wu Dajin mentioned it, I did this with the Qiao family. Marriage. There is only one girl in his family, and she is not a good match. She just got married randomly." Wang Lior said, "It's okay to get married to him, but my father now lives as a senior official, so he will marry him randomly in one place. Sorry." His wife and concubine were slandered, and his dissatisfaction was magnified. The person who said this was also his concubine. She should have been sisters with them and cared about each other. But now the family was talking about two different things, and they were sour and jealous. Turn your elbows outward, not giving yourself a good face. I know you are working hard, and I wish you congratulations. Although we are a good match, we are not in the right marriage. I understand your troubles. Can Simon King be unhappy after hearing this? When Wang Lior asked about Mao King, Simon King not only listened patiently, but also enthusiastically taught Wang Lior how to extort more property. In the end, Simon King jumped up and down and tried his best to handle Mao King's matter. And Wang Lior got 90 taels of silver and 4 sets of clothes for free. The daughter was sold as a concubine to Master Kai's stored Zai for only 50 taels. Butler Zai is equivalent to the General Secretary of the Prime Minister. Pan Jinlian is now blinded by jealousy, and her intelligence has become compromised. At this time, Wan did not expect to join forces with Simon King and strive to be his confidant. At this time, she was more like her defeated General Song Huilian, who would offend anyone with her mouth. "Don't say I'm strong, and I won't think you're short." This short sentence is full of firepower and can kill everyone. It means that Wu Yunyang did not handle this matter well. Your status is not much higher. It means that you consider yourself unlucky. After Simon King heard this, he was furious and cursed. "You thief and whore, why don't you get over here? People are talking here." But they also interrupt. "What can you say?" Jin Lian turned red with embarrassment and walked away. He came out and said, "Who said that I have a place here? You know I don't have a place here. What's wrong with you?" Pan Jinlian doesn't agree with them and can only build bridges and draw fire, so you might as well get out of the game. Since then, Simon King has planted another landmine for Li Pinger, which will explode as soon as he steps on it. Still in chapter 31, a silver pot was thrown away, and Pan Jinlian also pointed at Li Pinger with a sword. Simon King was also furious and stabbed Pan Jinlian on Li Pinger's behalf. Simon King was very upset after hearing this. Angry, he opened his eyes and looked at Jin Lian and said, "According to what you say, does it mean that Sister Li loves this pot? Now that you have it, just throw it away and just worry about messing up." Jin Lian's face turned red with embarrassment. He said, "Who said that sister has no money in her hand?" After saying that, she walked aside and laughed. In these two scenes, Pan Jinlian was very competitive and just wanted to overwhelm Li Pinger, so she was angry and scolded for her own sake. But Jin Lian didn't think so. Jin Lian said, "The person who scolded is so ruthless and righteous. Why didn't I say anything?" He changed his mind and taught him to repay tomorrow in my eyes. What a child, with the urine soaked in his arms. It's just a waste of money to win over the in-laws. Those who have money and know where to show it, fight for bed sheets, no cover, dogs bite the urine cells. It's nothing but joy. It's okay to be a wet in-law now. But it will be difficult to be a dry in-law tomorrow. Blowing kill the light blinks. And you can't see what happened next. People are nice when they get married, but only one of them will be fine after 3 to 5 years. Before this episode, no matter how vicious Pan Jinlian was, he could always find reasons to excuse her. She was sold, raped, sold cheaply, and occupied. And willing to be at the mercy of fate. She poisoned Wu Da. At most, she could take back what fate had given her. No matter what happened to Song Huilian, Da Yinger, Da Qiuju, and Jin Ping Mei, she still felt that her humanity was not completely wiped out and there was still a possibility of saving it. Her reason is still there, and her animal instinct of evil is still possible to control. However, when the evil in the heart begins to pour out on the weak baby, human nature has completely degenerated. Pan Jinlian finally transformed into the evil ghost himself. A woman's revenge will only be directed against the weaker others. The next day, Simon King went to work. While beating Qiuju, Pan Jinlian pointed at mulberry trees and scolded Suffrage Japonica. You are a thief, a slave and a whore. Since when did you become a grown-up? Others like you, but I don't like you. Sister, you know what I have seen, so you will just pass. It's all for nothing. Why are you trying to be strong by holding on to your head? Sister, don't lean on me. I'll be watching you until tomorrow. He was scolded and hit and scolded, until Qiuju was beaten to the point of killing a pig. It sounded like Li Ping'er didn't say a word, and was so frightened that he only held Brother Guan's ears. At the same time, Zhu Chan said, Go and tell your fifth mother to stop beating Qiuju. I just took some milk and fell asleep. After hearing this, Jin Lian beat Qiuju even harder and cursed. Thief slave, you with 10,000 knives on my body. This is called mercy. I'm a stubborn person. The more you scream, the more I beat you. Good sister, tell the man, please don't change me. Li Ping'er clearly understands here. He was the one who heard the accusations. His hands were cold with anger and he swallowed his anger. He dared to be angry, but did not dare to speak. I didn't have any tea in the morning, so I hacked Brother Guan and fell asleep on the kang. Adults benefiting themselves at the expense of others and striving against each other are not the ugliest aspects of human nature. When those who have been trampled begin to enjoy themselves by trampling others, it is the worst of evils. But in the bustling bustle of flowers, trampling innocent babies is even more profoundly cold and sad. They both escaped from the clutches of their ex-husbands, but Li Ping'er and Pan Jinlian are different. Pan Jinlian dealt a fatal blow, but Li Ping'er left a way for Hua Zixu to survive. Huazi died in vain, and Li Ping'er could only be regarded as an action, and Pan Jinlian went into battle in person, and he would definitely put Wu Da to death quickly. When these two people fight, Li Ping'er, who is slightly softer in temperament, is completely controlled by Pan Jinlian, facing Pan Jinlian's head-on attack. Li Ping'er did not go to Wu Yunyang to seek protection with her child in her arms, but just cried alone. When Simon King discovered that she had cried, she did not pretend to be pitiful and beg. She also did not mention what Jin Lian had said about her. She just said, I feel uncomfortable in my heart. She loved this man so much that she didn't want him to be in charge of such a big business and have to worry about being jealous of the family. She didn't make any fuss about taking the child back to her Lion Street. For the devil, giving an and forbearing will not awaken your conscience. It was Li Ping'er's forbearance that made Pan Jinlian know that she could let go of bullying. It can be predicted that Brother Guan will die and Li Ping'er will die. Whether mother and son die or not has nothing to do with anyone else. She has enjoyed all her beauty, wealth, and love, and no one will care if she dies early or later. As for Brother Guan, no one cares about him anymore. This world is complicated. What difference can one more life make or one less life? Whether Guan dies or not. He can neither cause earthquakes nor tsunamis. Tengu will not eat the moon, but human beings are still reproducing. Life is endless. and the sun is still shining on the earth. Pan Jinlian's mother of pearl bed is still full of charm for Ximon King. If Wu Shengshen's prophecy had been understood early, if Brother Guan died, Li Ping'er would die. If Li Ping'er died, Ximon King would die. And if Ximon King died, the tree would fall and the housens would scatter. And all the glory and wealth before his eyes would disappear. Those who have a grudge will surely die. Will Pan Jinlian let Li Ping'er and her son live? Probably not. When humanity is completely wiped out, you don't have to assume it anymore. When you return to the same situation, you must do the same thing. The social soil needed for inferiority and transcendence did not exist in the area of Jin Ping Mei. Then just read it and keep it cool. A closer look at chapter 42 of Jin Ping Mei. I only know that fireworks are gorgeous, but I don't know that fireworks are easy to scatter. On Lantern Festival this year, the flowers and lights are still the same. I don't see the people from last year, and my spring shirt sleeves are wet with tears. It's the Lantern Festival again. The last Lantern Festival event also took place upstairs on Lion Street. At that time, Ximon King's four wives and concubines came here to enjoy the lanterns, and Pan Jinlian stole the show. At that time, Ximon King was not the owner here, but a sneaky guest. At that time, Li Ping'er was still there here as the lover who was waiting eagerly for her. But now, Pan Jinlian's share of Ximon King's erotic love has been greatly reduced. Li Ping'er, who wanted to marry, finally became Ximon King's sixth wife as she wished, and gave birth to Ximon King's only son so far, and this son just booked a baby kiss. Although Li Ping'er didn't agree with the marriage, she showed her spirit of submission and never resisting after entering the Ximon courtyard and silently agreed. Although the son was born to her, he had an aunt and her aunt had the final say in everything. As her biological mother, she could not make the decision. Even if you express different opinions, I'm afraid it will be of no use and will only make your wife unhappy. Her greater submissiveness lies in her tolerance towards Pan Jinlian. No matter how much Jinlian cursed her, or even frightened his official brother and eventually killed him, she never made any resistance. Li Ping'er, who was once alive, seems to have been half dead since entering Ximon Mansion. Brother Guan's marriage is the 41st chapter, but at that time it was more of a verbal initial intention. This time, the two sides exchanged gifts during the Lantern Festival, which was considered a formal agreement. Ximon King actually disagreed at first, because he was an official now, and Qiao Dahu was still a commoner. What's more, this girl's status was not high, and her biological mother was not the head wife of Qiao Dahu. In his words, "It's just a marriage, but we just don't want to move in with each other." Although the Qiao family has this family affair, he is just a man in white from a big family in the county. Now you and I have this official living in the office, and he is in charge of the government office. Tomorrow, during the wedding banquet, he is wearing a little hat. How can he get along with me, an official? It's very indecent. Just the day before yesterday, Zhang's family in Jingnan Gandyang and Yingli repeatedly rushed to marry me, saying that my young lady is only 5 months old now, and she is the same age as our child. I thought he had no mother and was born in the same room, so I didn't accept him. I didn't want to get married to his family. Later, he found out that there was a Mrs. Qiao Wu in Da Qiao's family who was a relative of the emperor. In addition, although what Jin Lian said made him scolded, it was the truth after all, so he accepted the marriage and arranged it happily, a banquet between the two families. Pan Jinlian took it from the side and said, "Is it true that others were raised in the house, but who was raised outside the house? Even the child of the Qiao family was born in the house. It was the Taoist god of Xian who bumped into the birthday boy. You don't say I'm tall, and don't think you're short." After Ximon King heard this, he was furious and cursed. "Thieves and whores, you can't get over here. People talk here." And they also interrupt. "What do you say, place?" The people Ximon King sent to escort the gifts to Qiao Dahu's house were Chen Jingji and Bai Si. In Qiu Shutong on the Plum and the Golden Lotus, Miss Qian Xiaofei said that Xing Yi, that is, black clothes, was worn by servants. Ximon King treated his son-in-law Chen Jingji as a servant, not as a guest of honor. This is of course related to the plight of Chen Jingji's father, Chen Hong, and their in-laws. Chen Jingji, who lives in Ximen Mansion, can no longer receive the courtesy from his father-in-law Ximen King. And when Ximen King suddenly gave up and returned to the west, he still entrusted Chen Jingji with his funeral arrangements. At that time, Chen Jingji, his half-son, was the only person he could entrust. At this time, Li Ping'er had just given birth to a son for him, and Wu Yunyang was also pregnant. He was still young and had so many wives. He would naturally think that he would have a prosperous heir, so he would not look down upon a son-in-law who was in trouble. In eyes. After arranging a banquet for the guests, Ximen King went to find some fun on his own. He made an appointment with Earl Ying and Zida to have wine and watch the lights upstairs on Lion Street. He also made an appointment with Han Daoguo. Of course, Han Daoguo eats nuggets, and the nuggets he eats are from his wife Wang Liur. As for the bad guys in Jin Ping Mei, they are everywhere, but people as shameless as Han Daoguo are rare even in the world of Jin Ping Mei. It can be said that there are people outside the mountains and people outside the mountains. If you are still wondering after reading the 33rd chapter, Chen Jingji lost his key and punished him by singing Han Daoguo to indulge his wife in a fight, why Han Daoguo was not angry at all when his wife and his brother were caught having an affair with the government, and he still tried every means to rescue them. Then later, when Han Daoguo learned about Ximen King's attitude after hooking up with Wang Liur, he could understand his original attitude. No matter who his wife has an affair with, he doesn't care, as long as she has money. Ximen King is naturally rich. So not only did he not object, he was just eager to send his wife into Ximen King's tent. It's not like he's never done it before, let alone Ximen King's return of money. As for his wife, Wang Liur, she could also drag Ximen King food to her and tell Han Daoguo as a common matter. The two of them had discussions and discussions. They really worked together and were a rare loving couple in the Plum and the Golden Ping. In fact, this time, Wang Liur was hesitant about whether to go to Lion Street for an appointment, but she probably didn't expect that Han Daoguo was very supportive of her going. He clearly knew what would happen if he went there. So what? Ximen King will not treat them badly. He will give them money, and the money he will give is not small. So when they fell into despair later, it was not surprising that Han Daoguo relied on his wife and daughter to sell themselves to make money. After drinking and eating, Count Ying, Zida, and others all left. Han Daoguo left his wife Wang Liur behind, and he obediently went back to continue being his Wangba. Among all Pan Liur's love rivals, Wang Liur was probably the one she paid the least attention to but ultimately won her. What's interesting is that Xiao Taiguaner, who happened upon the scene between Ximen King and Pan Liur under the grape trellis not long ago, got a glimpse of Ximen King and Wang Liur's affair here. Why didn't I give him a good name? The vividness of novels, in addition to the gripping main story, often lies in the wonderful little things interspersed in it. For example, Sister Li Gui is described in this episode. In the previous episode, because Ximen King was promoted to an official, Sister Li Gui wanted to curry favor with him. So she accepted Wu Yunyang as her godmother and changed from a prostitute to a bed guest in Ximen Mansion. Her rival Wu Yin'er, under the guidance of Count Ying, quickly became the godmother of Li Ping'er, the most popular girl in front of Ximen King. When Sister Li Gui found out, she felt quite unhappy. Yunyang told him this way, "I sent you a gift yesterday, and I accept your Liu Nying as my goddaughter." After hearing this, Sister Li Gui was speechless. One day, he only had a temper with Wu Yin'er, and the two of them didn't talk. In just a sentences, the intrigue between women is vividly described. For another example, during the break-in watching the lanterns upstairs between Ximen King and Earl Ying, a new character Wang Sangwan was introduced. He is not only the new love interest of Sister Li Gui, the prostitute kept by Ximen King, but also the biological son of Mrs. Lin, whom Ximen King will hook up with in the future. His home, Wangzhou Shuan Mansion, was the place where Pan Junlian was first sold to Mrs. Pan. Wang Sangwan also had a beautiful wife who was also part of Ximen King's beauty hunting plan. Unfortunately, the plan failed to be implemented and Ximen's senior official passed away. Perhaps this is the eternal regret in Ximen King's heart, who passed away urgently. It's good to celebrate the Lantern Festival by eating wine and playing chess. But it's also impossible not to enjoy the lanterns and fireworks. The Lantern Festival described the prosperity of the Lion Street Lantern Market through the eyes of the female relatives. At that time, Simon King and his women were more of a spectator. This time, Simon King not only hung up the wonderful Yangjiaoling lanterns upstairs, but also set off fireworks in the middle of the street. Through the eyes of everyone, we saw the splendid fireworks of Simon officials. As prosperous as the lanterns were last time, the fireworks this time were as dazzling. Flower piles 1 foot and 5 feet high, and the mountain tents all around were lively. There is a crane at the highest point, holding an alchemy book in its mouth. It is afire, and a cold light shines straight through the side of the bullfight. Then, just as a watermelon cannon exploded from the center, people all around were struck, and thousands of thunderbolts were set on fire. The colorful lotus boats compete with the bright moon, one after another, like golden lanterns scattering the stars in the sky. Thousands of purple grapes, likely beads hanging upside down on a crystal curtain. The powerful jade whip is loud everywhere. The ground rats are stringing round people's clothes. The beautiful jade platform with a beautiful lamp rotates beautifully. The silver moth and golden bullet are so clever that it is hard to move. The 8 immortals hold longevity, and their names reveal the power of the tongue. The 7 saints subjugate demons, and their whole bodies are filled with fire. Yellow smoke, green smoke, dense clouds cover thousands of clouds. The lotuses bloom tightly, the lotus blooms slowly, and the 10 brocades bloom brilliantly. 1-foot-long chrysanthemums and smoked orchids face each other, and pear blossoms fall to the ground and peaches compete for spring. The towers, palaces and pavilions suddenly lost their majestic power. The village drums seemed to be hard to hear the sound of joy. The salesman's load was blazing brightly from top to bottom. Bo Lao's cart was shattered from head to tail. The 5 ghosts are making trouble, and they are so anxious and ferocious. They are ambushed from all sides, and there is no way to win or lose. After all the effort, the fire is extinguished and the smoke is reduced to smoldering embers. The author understands that fireworks are easy to scatter and prosperity is easy to pass away, but it is a pity that he did not let his character Simon King also understand this truth. Fireworks bloomed in the night sky and also swelled in Simon King's heart and body. The high-ranking officials of Simon are consuming their bodies that they think will never decay, squandering their money that they think will never dissipate, and enjoying their glory that they think will never fade away. White night lasts forever. Little do they know that no matter how gorgeous the fireworks are, they will turn into ashes in an instant. The more gorgeous the fireworks, the more ruthless the ashes appear. It was like a beautiful beauty who turned around and turned into a terrifying skeleton. Don't people also end up like ashes in the end, only in the morning and evening? It's just this morning and one night that are the footnotes of life, and the differences between people. A closer look at Chapter 43 of Jin Ping Mei, Golden Sonata. The opening chapter of Jin Ping Mei talks about wine, sex, and wealth. It also says that among these 4 things, money and sex are more harmful. Wealth is a lie detector. Wealth can turn black into white, ugly into beautiful, wrong into right, humble into noble, old into young, and coward into brave. In front of gold, the human heart is delicate. Chapter 43 is the sonata played by the golden strings. Li Zi and Huang Si, who took the lead, collected the money and returned it to Simon King. Lanta was a government purchaser in the Ming dynasty. Li Zi and Huang Si got the project to purchase 30,000 kilograms of spices and yellow and white candles for the government. They had to advance money for the purchase, and the government would only release money if the quality and quantity of the goods met. There are naturally a lot of tricks involved in how to get the project, how to pass the inspection of the product, and how to pay out the money in small amounts. Where did the money come from? Borrowing is a must. Earl Ying connects them. It's a win-win-win situation. Li Zi and Huang Si had money, and they could also use Simon King's name. Simon King received the interest, and Earl Ying received the benefit fee. Li Zi and Huang Si paid back 1,000 taels, and still owed 500 taels of silver. They also used 4 ingots of gold bracelets to make 150 taels of silver to repay the interest. These 4 ingots of gold bracelets were Jin Sheng's small money. With a profit of 5 cents per month, you can make money quickly. Simon King was so happy that he gave 4 gold bracelets to Brother Guan to make toys. For this reason, he refused to enter Pan Jinlian's door, which made Pan Jinlian half-dead angry when he spoke to her. But Pan Jinlian soon became happy again. The gold bracelet she got in Li Ping'er's house was missing one. This is different from the silver pot last time. The cause of Yinhu's incident was the affair between Yu Xiao and Shutong. Qin Tong's move was a prank and revenge on Yu Xiao and Shutong, and it was also an act of ignorance. Pan Jinlian suspected that Qin Tong and Li Ping'er's master and servant conspired to steal the silver pot, and was scolded by Simon King. Under the melons and plums, Pan Jinlian's suspicion does not seem to be groundless, but Li Ping'er is rich, who in Simon Mansion doesn't know. She was favored again, and no one cared about the piano boy's pranks. Pan Jinlian questioned her but was scolded by Simon King. Hearing that the gold had been lost, Pan Jinlian immediately went to Wu Yunyang's house to stir up rumors. Li Ping'er's house was also in an uproar. Earlier, Qin Tong hid the silver pot and did not avoid his own people. Zhu Chen and Ying Chen both married Li Ping'er into the Simon Mansion. Naturally, they were far more intimate and harmonious than others. However, in the gold-losing incident, there were too many outsiders. Not to mention Meng Yulu, Li Jiar, Wu Dejinzi and his daughter-in-law Zhang Sanji, as well as the accompanying maids. There were also quite a few outsiders in Li Ping'er's house. Nanny Ryer came later. Since Lao Feng got involved with Wang Liuer, he became really alienated from Li Ping'er and the girls. This time, Lao Feng was inevitably questioned about losing money. Li Ping'er expressed Lao Feng's grievances twice. Once to Simon King. "You confiscated it. But where did you go?" "I haven't searched for it all day." The old Feng pushed Lao Feng, and the anxious Lao Feng risked his life to punish him with a curse. "Just cry." Another time, he said to Wu Yunyang. His father brought in 4 ingots of gold to play with the children. "I was chatting with Da Zhenzi, Sanji Zhang, and his second mother. Unexpectedly, 1 ingot disappeared. Now the girl is pushing her breasts." Pushing Lao Feng, the anxious mother Feng cried and cried. All she wanted was to seek death. Without eyes, it is difficult to understand the business. Who is being wronged now? Of course, no one is wronged. Whoever took it, let him find it slowly. At this time, Li Ping'er is probably like Daisy in The Great Gatsby. Her voice is indeed full of money. Her cadence, tinkling like silver bells, and clear and beautiful voice like cymbals contains exactly that. This has charm, as if she is a noble princess in a white palace, a girl made of gold. However, gold cannot iron out all the wrinkles, and Li Ping'er's crisis is approaching step by step. Wu Yunyang guaranteed the initiative by betrothal to Guangir, but this time Simon King's gift of money after her ecstasy made her unable to let go. Brother Guan threw himself into Sister Li Gui's arms. Yunyang couldn't help but take it and said, "Who is he? When he gets older tomorrow, Guan King will also be a prostitute." The well-behaved Meng Yulu said, "If you become a prostitute, call your eldest mother, and I will beat you to death." Li Ping'er said, "Little boy, your sister will hold you, and I will beat your sister to death as long as she wears her clothes." There are words in the words, swords and swords, but the author did not describe the expressions of these women. Li Ping'er's weakness and passivity sometimes make people think that she is not qualified as a mother. In fact, it is just because of Pan Jinlian. In front of Wu Yunyang, although Li Ping'er was meek, she was not inferior in fighting back. However, Yunyang was still the first person to notice Guanjir's fear. The sound of playing and singing frightened Guanjir into falling down in Sister Gui's arms. When Yunyang saw it, she called out, "Sister Li, take it, come, teach Yingshan to take the child into the house. You are such an immature boy, look at his face." Did Li Ping'er not see her son's fear? Or was it inconvenient to speak? No matter what, the kiss was still lively. Although the Qiao family is dressed in white, Mrs. Qiao Wu has extraordinary confidence as a royal relative. Mrs. Qiao Wu is sitting in a sedan chair with a silver roof, azure rims, and silk gold running water. She is wearing a crown of emerald pearls and a red palace embroidered robe. She must talk about now. The Empress of the East Palace is my niece, son. Respectable families from King County gathered here, including the ladies of Shangjian. Just imagine that Zhang Si had strongly recommended that Meng Yulu marry Shangjian. I wonder what the situation of this Shangjian's wife was and how Yulu felt in his heart. Life is not about meeting each other, but it is like participating in business. The clusters of flowers, embroidered flags, and ribbons in front of me were all scattered in the blink of an eye. On the other hand, the few waiters who had been busy all day were making wine orders with a table of food, half a can of wine and a dying light. It was quite interesting. There are countless joys in life, so don't let this moment pass you by. A closer look at Jin Ping Mei Chapter 44. Jia Huier is a lie. So far, I have returned to Ximen to celebrate good luck and happy events one after another. It is the moment of flowers are blooming, and fire is cooking oil. Every room is surrounded by concubines, pearls and emeralds sway gently, a sin is born on the front foot, and a black gauze hat flies on the back foot. The business develops from a single development to a multifaceted operation. Whether it is a pawn shop or a woolen shop, everything is prosperous. As the saying goes, who will come when the time comes, and who will not come when the time comes. When we were reuniting 10 brothers, Simon King was on the pole. And now he is an official. And Bai Guang and his like are too lazy to pay attention to it. And they can't finish their own festival. The brotherhood will naturally disperse. And let it disperse. Qiao Da, whose family was so close that Wu Yunyang took matters into her own hands, Simon King was not satisfied. And it was always embarrassing to interact with the man in white. Faces piled up with money, for a few taels of silver. Sister Li Gui could not help but compromise and asked Wu Yunyang several times to let her go. Later, when I saw Chen Jingyi come in, I asked Chen Jingyi again and almost lost his composure. Sister Li Gui was in a hurry to go home because she had something on her mind, which will be discussed later. But when Simon King came home, he ordered for singers to bring instruments and sing 10 pieces of brocade to him. Sister Li Gui had no choice but to put away her painful face and play the pipa. Just after singing, I heard people shouting outside the door. It turned out that a thief had been caught. This thief is not that thief. He is a domestic thief named Jia Huier. Jia Huier is the daughter of the second concubine Li Zhaoer. There is a line in Bai Jui's Song of Everlasting Sorrow that the waiter lifts up the weaklings, and Rabindranath Tagore's poem Life is like a summer flower. Unfortunately, they were all ruined by this master and servant. Jia Huier couldn't bear the beating and argued that the gold was picked up from Liu Niang's house. This is really what Jia Huier said in broad daylight, pretending that everyone in the room was blind. Jia Huier, a liar, stole the gold and hid under the manger. Jia Huier, who was hiding under the manger, stole gold and had something to do with horses. Yunli Shu came home before. Not only did people come, but they also brought two horses. Simon King was walking his horse, and everyone in the family came to join in the fun, giving Jia Huier the opportunity to take action. Yunli Shu has not been seen since his sworn vows. He came all the way from his brother Yun Shen to lead his horse in order to connect with Jia Huier's stealing of gold. It's just the author's imagination. It's not groundless. Well, leave this matter for later. Let's just say that the trial of the case made it clear. The camera switches to Li Zhaoer's room. Li Zhaoer's niece, Sister Li Gui, said to Jia Huier, "Is your mother's face bright or not?" He also gave Li Zhaoer an idea. Stop teaching him to take him out and teach others jokes. He also told Jia Huier, "From now on, you must be close to your mother's heart. You must be of the same mind with him in everything. No matter what you take, deliver it with him." Instead of teaching Jia Huier to change her past, Sister Li Gui taught her to secretly give it to Li Zhaoer. Instead of condemning the thief, I complained that she didn't do it carefully. Who is not careful? Are you afraid it's not just Jia Huier? I didn't expect Jia Huier to be so brave not long after I bought it. Li Zhaoer was in charge of the Ximen family's finances at the time, so it's unknown whether she might have been caught by the girl and copied her. Sister Li Gui instigated Jia Huier to steal, and said, "You are promoted just like the Lantern Festival. How a girl in the Lantern Festival was promoted by her mistress is not written by the author, but is written by the readers. But if the judgment is limited to morality, it still does not involve the author's painstaking efforts. Sister Li Gui and Simon King are close friends in love, and now she is Wu Yunyang's goddaughter, but she has such scheming intentions behind her back, which is really chilling. The reader's heart is just a spectator. How can it be colder than the heart of the person involved? Thinking about Sister Li Gui hooking up with someone in the fence, I have never seen anything. He said that his own aunt Li Jiar was also a famous prostitute in the past. It seems that she had a passionate relationship with Simon King at the beginning. After marrying her, she just let her go as quickly as the wind in the stable. The so-called ironclad man and flirtatious bitch are not as good as a person. Only silver is the most reliable. This is what worries Sister Li Gui. The rush to go home is not to lie down, but to have Wang Sangwan Baba waiting for you at home, waiting to send money. Two plums cannot be written in one stroke. Both plums are fruits on the same branch. Writing about summer flowers is not just for the sake of writing about summer flowers, but it is about two flowers blooming, one on each side. When I write about Jia Huer, I write about Sister Li Gui. The purpose of writing about Sister Li Gui is not to write about Sister Li Gui, but to write about Simon King. Writing about Simon King is not just about Simon King, but also about Li Jiar. I used Jia Huer's lies to elicit Sister Li Gui's words, in order to write about Simon King's prosperity today, his subsequent decline, writing about Simon King's later decline, not long after he was about to die. Li Jiar stole 5 ingots of silver and ran away to ambush him. As the saying goes, there is no choice but the flowers fall away. And there are few pommels and horses in front of the door. The flowers in summer, with their enthusiasm, are just the introduction to the chill of autumn. And the person who prompted Jia Huer to steal the gold was Yun Lishu, who was in the mist. When Yun Lishu came to the house, it was Simon King's moment of glory, and after Simon King's death, he was the one who witnessed the decline of the Simon family. This is what is called grass snake gray line and veins lying thousands of miles away. At this point, we can see the true meaning of writing Jia Huer, and we can also see the so-called everyone's handwriting. Hot in the middle of cold, cold in the middle of hot. To write about Jia Huer means to write about the sophistication of human nature, but the harshness of the world. It's a pity that Simon King was ignorant at the moment and was kicked out by Li Pinger and went to Pan Jinlian's house. Just as Wu Shengshan said, the year catches up with the moon, and the moon catches up with the sun. Step by step, we are rushing into the depths of prosperity and step by step into hell. When Pan Jinlian saw Simon King entering the room, he felt as if he was falling from the sky. He quickly went forward to pick up his clothes and take off his belt, make the bed, and lay out the silk thread. Then he had tea and the two of them went to bed. Li Pinger rushed Simon King to find Pan Jinlian, which was a trouble for Simon King's happiness. At that time, Simon King not only had a rich family fortune, but was also very energetic. He was constantly drinking and eating while socializing all day long. He also had to deal with his lovely wife and concubines when he returned home. As Earl Ying said, Brother Kui is so good at thinking, if he is the second one, he won't be able to do it. It's true what you say, living like Simon King's life is really not affordable for ordinary people. Wealth and power are secondary, but having a good body is the key. Later, the mercury was all over the place, and it was all caused by the empty body. That's why I took Hu Monk's medicine and died at the hands of Pan Jinlian. When Simon King died, the tree fell and the hosen scattered. This dispersion can also be seen from this chapter. In A Dream of Red Mansions, first Shuair steals a shrimp beard bracelet. And then there is a copycat inspection of the Grand View Garden, which indicates that the family's great business will turn from prosperity to decline due to neglect of management. In Jin Ping Mei, Jia Huer steals money and lays a wedge for Simon King's downfall. In A Dream of Red Mansions, Hong Yu said to Juer, "There is no feast that lasts without a long tent for thousands of miles." Just like Sister Li Gui said in The Plum and the Golden Lotus, from now on, you must be close to your mother's heart. You must be of the same mind with him in everything. Whatever you take, give it to him. Sister Li Gui, like her aunt Li Jiar, is a sober and cold-eyed bystander. Simon King's defeat was already within their expectations. Coincidentally, another person is Yemen Erking. This person is Sister Li Gui's enemy Wu Yin'er. At this moment, she was listening to Li Ping'er vomiting bitterness and expressing his heartfelt feelings. She persuaded Li Ping'er, "Mom, that's fine. Just look at it for Dad's sake. Just watch over my brother and pass slowly until you get there." Wu Yin'er persuaded Li Ping'er that although Li Ping'er was generous, he was also transparent. It's also what she says from her own heart. It is also an anticipation of Simon King's ending. This time it may seem like a small matter, but it turns out to be a big deal. But the big joints are connected with the little girl Jia Hui'er. From Sister Li Gui deceiving Wu Yunyang in a hurry to go home, to the incident of Jia Hui'er stealing gold, to Sister Li Gui falsely teaching her a lesson, and even Li Ping'er deceiving and pushing Simon King out in order to protect herself. It turned out that it was all lies. But Li Ping'er and Wu Yin'er were sitting on the canyon talking to each other. And there was a hint of warmth, however, after getting clothes and silks. Wu Yin'er, who was very passionate about his mother-in-law, pretended not to know when Li Ping'er passed away.
Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.